I'm going to bring back my president, the only president that I know.
I'm so excited that Olivia's here. She was actually at our conference, 2 years ago or a year ago on a panel. So it's awesome that she's coming back and now as a partner. So thank you and welcome. Before I forget, Paul wanted me to point out that there are evaluations on the table. If you can please fill them out before you leave so we can get an idea of how we did, what we need to do better, and what other programming you'd like to see. Before we get started with our next panel, I would like to introduce Representative Ana Maria Rodriguez, who is going to soon be our next senator. Rodriguez. And Owen Bailey, who's with the Everglades Foundation, and he is one of the partners on the Super Bowl's O2E initiative, and the Everglades Foundation has been a huge, huge help with Florida Realtors. In case you don't know, we do a lot of lobbying for the Everglades and for beach restoration, and they've been an awesome partner and continue to be, and we work together on a lot of legislative issues. And now, because I'm running out of breath, I'm going to introduce Gus Fonte. He's going to introduce our panel, and Gus is also, he could easily be one of the speakers on this panel instead of a moderator, and we are lucky to have him as part of our Miami Commercial Board. Thank you, Gus.
Hello. Thank you very much. My name is Gus Fonte. I know we've had some wonderful panels and discussions today, but forget it. I got lucky. I got the rock stars here. This is going to be wonderful. We discussed in our board a panel on reuse and redevelopment, and this is who we wanted here. Between the three of them, they represent properties and developments in just about every sector of the city. I'm not going to bore you with all their resumes because then my time would be up, but I'll introduce Avra Jain, Lissette Calderon, and Thomas Roth. They have projects everywhere, and I'll let them talk a little bit about their projects, but I just want to get into the talk. This is the only thing I'll read. Cities evolve. As cities evolve, centrally located properties that once served one purpose are now located in areas that present attractive opportunities for other uses. Adaptive reuse can be a great way for developers and property owners to leverage extremely valuable pieces of land and transform structures into better versions of their former selves. Whether it's an old factory converted into creative office space or industrial buildings being converted to apartments, Miami's rapidly changing economy is creating many such opportunities and making its diverse buildings come alive in new visions. So first off, and I'll start on this end, what are the benefits of reworking, reusing versus tear down and start if you see there are any?
So there's lots of them. One that I
Top five.
Yeah, so one I want to share, because I think it's something we don't talk about enough, which is sustainability. The most important thing about adaptive reuse, I think one of the things that's overlooked, is that it's sustainable. So there's actually green studies out there that if you take an existing building and you were to knock it down and rebuild the same building, LEED certified, it could take up to 80 years to recover let's say the CO2's lost. So when we talk about, climate change, all these things, or, being more conscientious, it speaks to adaptability. Adaptability of any existing building is great, is a sustainable solution. The other thing is I think a lot of people at least a lot of the people that I attend, a lot of adaptive buildings, is people like that feeling, that word is a little overused now, authentic. And so I'll give you one small example. We did the motel on 62nd Biscayne. It's called the South Pacific Motel, now South Pacific Motel. And that's because I turned the motel into a single-user office tenant. Single-user office tenant took the whole motel and turned it into a campus. There's a branding and advertising company. They got a spoke to their brand. And I did $45 per square foot modified goods at 62nd Biscayne. and no TI. So I'll let you partners do the math on that one. It's about a $6 cost. So I think I'm outperforming every office building in Miami except for the 1450 building. So that's just an example of adaptive reuse, how it speaks to brand, sustainability, and how because there's less of it, there's a limit on supply, more demand, the rental rates are probably surprisingly much higher than you think.
Sorry.
He tears it down and starts to cry.
Hello, there we go. Hi, I'm Tom Roth, and I'm a principal of Repurpose. Thank you very much for having me and us today and sharing this great panel.
Tom, can you familiarize the audience with just two of your projects?
So we are actually redeveloping Cocoa Walk and Shop to Sunset, among other things. We've done some ground-up development in Aloft by the airport, hotel, a residential building in Coconut Grove, some projects up in Wilton Manors, some other storefronts in Coconut Grove, Commodore, and Main Highway, just to name a few. But with respect to the question, with respect to your question, Gus, with Cocoa Walk and Shops of Sunset, thank you for the shout out to the sustainability. That is important, Avra, but also looking at the dollars and cents for a moment. Those projects both have very valuable assets in the fact that they have large garages. So for me to rebuild that garage would make a project much less economically viable. So we have those garages, whether you like them or not, that's another question. I know Sunset's garage is a little hard to use, we're trying to improve that. But when you have the garage, we're able to build without having to build parking in certain circumstances. So that's a major advantage, especially in Coconut Grove where we're building an office building. So if you're going to build an 80,000 square foot office building, normally you're going to have to build at least 240 parking spaces. So we don't have to do that. And especially because the parking spaces in Cocoa Walk are used typically at night. So we really don't have to build additional parking to support a daytime use like office. And that was actually part of the reason why we chose office in Cocoa Walk, was in order to take advantage of the parking and not have a problem with overcapacity, overuse of the parking garage. And at Sunset, we've got a 1,700 space garage. So when we build residential in a hotel, again, we're not going to have to build nearly as much parking because we have so much capacity in that existing garage. The other major aspect, I think, is that we have existing leases in existing buildings that you have to honor. So we have Chase Bank, we have UFIT in Cocoa Walk, we have Israel Game Time and LA Fitness at Sunset. And it's very, very difficult to buy out a tenant who has the lease rights. It adds a lot of cost to the project. So a lot of times you are somewhat beholden to the tenants, and you have to factor that in when you're looking at whether you're going to rebuild or you're going to start from ground zero and start over again.
You're doing a, not reuse, but a repositioning of a very nice building on the river. Why, how, and you get to that one? Because that's not typical of your development.
No, it's not. And first of all, good afternoon. Thank you everybody for having me. Thank you, Gus, for the visual of me riding around on a bulldozer screaming Yahoo. And my colleagues understand how it's so many other great developers. That said, to me, really, each site speaks itself to me, whether we kind of reposition or whether we rebuild from the ground up. The project in particular that Gus is referring to is our Pier 19 project. That was an off-market transaction that I closed out about a year ago. It was a fraction condo in downtown that had, kind of fallen through everything that happened. As a result, it had been picked up by someone who was not, at least, someone that was really versed in this or anything. He just happened to stumble upon it. And we finished it as an apartment rental, but in a very different way than I perceived the river to be. Knowing, kind of the history of it and so forth, I pursued the deal for 1 year. And like I tell everybody, by the time we put a shovel in the ground, we've probably been pursuing it for 4 years, 3 years, and it's not an overnight project. And really, to me, what that spoke to is, the Miami River being the artery, and kind of just what the Miami River stands for in the West. It was a completely, under-positioned asset. It was mismanaged, ill-positioned. It had a location that had a lot of additional benefits. One of the things that we didn't realize when they put value on is it had marina rights. Everybody knows the extent, the value of marina rights. It also had the development potential for another 120 units, which will be phase 2 of our project. So we'll have another 120 units coming up on the Miami River. And then in addition to that, the units themselves really were the expenses, and I know they can speak to it. When you look at the project, the real expenses in the shell and the land. The finishes are really just kind of the decoration, it's a final expense, and that was what was done poorly. So I knew if I could strip out the ugliness and kind of reposition it, we would take what was probably a CD asset and reposition it as a B asset. In the time that we built it, at the time, one of the things that was being done, and again, it's there's very different perspectives on it. We had 25% Airbnb rentals. I canceled them all immediately, and I moved them up for 1-year leases. We had about 77% occupancy. We're now at about 97%. We've raised rents about 20%. We did that through a myriad of factors: repositioning, retenanting. We had a capital expenditure campaign because this particular owner had been about 10 years that he hadn't spent any dollar on this project. And again, that project, so that's really kind of speaking to rebuilding sustainability. And then you kind of take the flip side of that. There's another project that did have a 10,000 square foot warehouse in the area. It was actually a pretty neat space, had 25-foot ceilings. I actually walked in and I was like, wow, this would be a really fun space for me, 10,500. I also knew that it had the ability to become 192 rental units. So in that particular case, as exciting and sexy and as fun as I think turning that warehouse into an office space, whether it was for me personally or for someone, the financials really spoke to the density allowed there, which was the 192 units. And again, I know we speak to sustainability, but to me, part of sustainability is having projects that speak to different people within the community. Our projects are always dedicated, to the people that live in Miami, work in Miami, the professionals, the paraprofessionals, and that's kind of the price points that we operate in. So that's a little bit how we speak to sustainability, even though we do not do so.
Avra, you have a project in Hialeah, which is a very interesting reuse, reposition. I'm not 100% quite sure. Can you speak to that to the audience?
I can't tell you everything. Listen, I think, so this is neighborhood building. So there's one thing to take a building and do. So I just did the Anatomy building in Newtown. I don't know if you guys have seen that at 34th and Northeast 2nd Avenue. But that was an adaptive reuse of a warehouse. Everybody looked at it as a development site. It sold as a development site. So I bought a 1960s old shoe warehouse building. And I was like, well, I'm going to change that building. Anatomy came in. And we're going to build an office building on the parking lot, like you would in New York. But that was an example of where you could keep the old and still build the new because it has room around it, right? So the next thing that I'm doing is a longer-term project, and it's really placemaking. We're going to create our own little town, and it's about assembling the right team of people together. It's about, curating the tenancy, working with the city, working with the community, finding out what they want, what they're looking for, and working with them to make sure I have the right to do the things, right? The use issue, that I can do the things they wanted. Hialeah was, the council there was looking for more entertainment, more lifestyle within Hialeah, which is already a very dense city. And so we've got about 200,000 square feet of adaptive reuse that will be food and beverage and entertainment.
Tom, what are long-range plans at Coco Walk? Excuse me, not Coco Walk. That one's almost done. Sunset Place. Where are you at with that? Small one.
Glory be, we finally got the zoning approval. We're very happy about that. Thank you. We, through the process, going through the zoning approval with the city of South Miami, in the end, we were able to achieve a plan that calls for the whole north end of Sunset, essentially the 3 acres that are closer to Red and US 1, will be demolished. And that's where we will build a brand new development featuring 3 towers, 2 residential towers, about 414 units in total, market rate, and then 1 hotel of about 180 keys, and then retail and restaurants at grade. So that's the north end, that's the new part of the project. As you know, the north end of Sunset hasn't worked very well ever since Virgin was there years ago in Nike Town, before my time of arriving in Miami. But everybody tells me in the bakery center before that, and so we're hoping 3rd time's a charm. So we really looked at the north end having to be completely de-retailed. It just hasn't worked. We wanted to shrink the footprint of retail. About 520,000 square feet today in retail at Sunset. It'll be about 390 when we're done. But then we're adding, of course, the residential and hotel. The rest of the center, south of that north end, from basically Johnny Rockets or the little San Remo cut in to the south, down to Sunset Drive, will all be remodeled and completely de-Mediterraneanized. We're going to open up the shops to Red Road, so Red Road feels more like a real street, not just an expressway like it is today. We're going to create a plaza on Red. That'll be a centerpiece, sort of the living room of South Miami, right in the middle of the project. Make the access to AMC much, much better and easier to use. Brighten up the entrance. It feels like you're walking into a cave, if you know how it is right now, walking off the Sunset Drive. So unfortunately, we can't open it up to the sky because you have AMC right across the top there, but at least we can brighten it up a bit and make it a little more cheerful. So those are a few of the things. There's many, many aspects to the redevelopment of Sunset, but those are some of the highlights, yes.
We're all looking forward to getting that project done for that whole area. So we have a room full of brokers, investors, developers, aspiring developers. What 3 items can you point out to when you're looking at something that you think is going to be either reuse or redevelopment, that you go to your investors or your partners with and say, this is why we have to do this deal? And it can be deal specific or in general specific. Go ahead, I'll start with you.
Okay, so first of all, I always tell everybody, do something you like. I always think that's so funny. I'll meet a developer and they're building something and I'll go, oh, so you live your office there, or you're gonna live there, or would you have your kids, rent an apartment there? And I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, how do you sell something you yourself don't like? I love lights, but I mean at least light, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm not a student, I'm a homeowner. I do my homework on the property. So, full disclosure, I was actually involved in the deep blocks when it was getting developed because I wanted a tool for myself. I was like, gosh, there's a piece of property, what can I build, what's the use, right? We don't care about the use, and what's the zoning, and it'd be nice to know right away. Again, mapping isn't going to make a decision for me, but it will at least tell me when I can't do something. So, speaking to the Miami River, what makes the Miami River really special is that there's the zonings that are very restrictive. Most of it's D3 zoning. So we find the opportunity to build on what you're doing and what you've done before, is that you can create a lot of value because there's a limited supply. So, do what you like, be a student, know the zoning, and learn as much about the execution as you can. So I'm actually a builder that develops. And I encourage everybody, my team is 3 architects. So we care a lot about the execution side. So you can have a really good idea, but if you can't execute, that's not, it may never happen. So I would encourage everybody to spend time on job sites or find a partner that spends time on job sites, because the execution is probably as important as the idea.
And again, I always say this, I'm a mother of 3 girls, 12, 13, 14, and pursue your passion. So if you're all here, you have a passion for real estate. So that to me is just a fundamental in whatever it is that you do in life. So, and it's absolutely that. I mean, you need to be passionate about it because you are your own best salesperson. So you better believe in what you're doing and really go out there. But again, I made a comment yesterday that was on another panel that became controversial, but I will stick very much by that comment, which is you make the money on the buy. So I am one of those people that is extremely diligent on the numbers. To me, the numbers have to pencil out on the buy. I'm not going to do a pro forma that trends out to 5 years from now with these hyperinflated rents that, paper holds anything. Or I'm going to buy at a land basis where, I have to hope that the market becomes south of 50 so I can make the numbers work. So really the first thing I always do, I find it whether you're looking for, lenders, whether you're looking for equity partners, whatever it is, I'm assuming you've already done, I sat on saying, you've done your zoning studies and you can do this project, is truly have a handle on what the numbers are. Know what your comps are doing, what are the rents, what are the construction costs. Sometimes they'll come in with these construction costs, and I said, that's great. You can build that project if you were still in 1996 in today's construction numbers. Those numbers don't pencil out, just in the last 3-4 years ago, the prices have changed. So really, really, really know your numbers is one of the things that I would always say, when you're going to make a case. And at the end of the, as you kind of go forward in terms of the execution, like for example, when we here today, I actually have to change in the car because I have to go walk a new project that we're visiting because I call it the sniff test. I can't, Google it and hope that it works out. I actually roll my sleeves up and I do the sniff test. But the last thing I'm going to do is surround yourself, whether it's architects, engineers, but really, when you're talking about bankers and partners, people that have the same vision and the same values you do, because that's where you can get hurt. So if you are looking to be a long-term player, then make sure that your financing and your partner and your equity partner are patient. If you're looking to do a merchant deal and you're just looking to flip, then you can look to different sources of funding capital. But really know what are your long-term plans, because you have to make plans for that in the beginning.
So I like to focus on projects that have a little bit of a thematic similarity. And what we've done at Grass River is we've been looking for walkable, pedestrian-friendly areas. We believe that South Miami, Sunset Drive, and Coconut Grove are two of those. That's not that typical in South Florida, where we have a lot of suburban sprawl, to find true, authentic neighborhoods like those. And if you look for neighborhoods like those that haven't been redeveloped, buy, because I think those are great opportunities. Look at years ago, Clematis in West Palm Beach, for example, overlooked and then redeveloped. So I think people gravitate towards those areas. I think if you stick to your knitting and you try to find areas that fit a certain thematic pattern like that, like walkability, pedestrian friendly, that can be very successful. The other thing is if you look at what the investors are looking to invest in, a number of the investors are looking at areas just like that, or transit-oriented development. And so finding transit-oriented development sites, which is quite the buzzword these days with the investment community, you'll know that you'll have an attractive variety of investors or potential buyers if you're playing right into their sweet spot. We're lucky enough to have Federal Realty as our partners on both Coco Walk and Shops at Sunset. And Federal Realty is all about trying to recreate centers, shopping centers, so you really don't sense that you're in a shopping center, but it's really an extension of the neighborhood you're in. And that's what we're trying to do with Coco Walk and Sunset, is really weave it into the fabric of those neighborhoods, because we think that those projects were designed sort of with their back to the neighborhoods. Remember the Starbucks building in the front of Coco Walk? Well, we knocked that down. That prevented me from being able to use the rest of Coco Walk. We're creating a beautiful meandering walkthrough. So that's Federal's mantra, so we were able to partner with Federal because we found 2 local projects that really check the boxes for them, and we're really happy with that relationship, and it's an area that we've been focusing particularly on. So,
Thank you. I guess the 3 of you probably get pitched more deals than normal in Miami. In terms of trends, where are you seeing an uptake of more future activity? Where would you, without kind of, we know what you're doing presently without, telling us about stuff that you don't want to talk about, but where would the audience, where would you tell them to look and be more active as a, not new frontier, but what areas you think that you forecast will be hot in the next 12 months, 14 months, 24 months, outside of just all of Miami, which is crazy, but specifics. Tom, I'll start with you, all the way over there. Go for it.
can it be outside of the state of Florida? Because I'm actually going to Detroit next Friday, and feel that there's opportunity there. But no, again, I think finding these underdeveloped, walkable areas, like I mentioned before, wherever they are, there's been a rediscovery. Florida was known for the place to go and find new green space. The West Boca, West Del Rey phenomenon of being on a golf course. Well, that's totally changed now. And we have all of these central cities, thanks to the Flagler Railroad, all up and down the east coast of Florida, that are sitting there waiting to happen. Some of them have happened, like Del Rey. The other ones really haven't happened, like Boynton Beach. So I think if you look at the pattern of development of South Florida, where you have this 15-mile swatch of land, you got the sharks on one side, the alligators on the other, and that's going to create a lot of value by looking at infill properties, especially along the East Coast in these town centers that haven't yet been rediscovered.
Speaking to that, as I was saying, I'm a nerd at heart. I love numbers, I love trends. And really that's how I work backwards into what we're looking for. So when I look at, the state of Florida, and then you see we have 20 million people, we're the 3rd most populous state. And then you kind of look at the projections, and by 2030, we're supposed to have 30 million people. Of those numbers, 30% live in the Miami MSA, which is Miami's a Lauderdale, Palm Beach is part of the MSA. You kind of look to that trend and you say, here's this Miami MSA. In 2017, we became the 7th largest MSA in the country. It actually leapfrogged Philly. South of DC, we're the largest. We're actually ahead of Atlanta. We're ahead of San Francisco, surprisingly. So that speaks to the extent of the growth that Miami, that Miami MSA has had. Then if you kind of dig deeper into the trends, you say, okay, where's that? Well, when I looked at Miami specifically, and from 2010 to 2018, urban core Miami has had about a 38% compounded annual growth rate, 1.4% or so, in the last few years. But if you look at the urban cores, again, to Tom's point, those are growing at about 4%. So what are those areas? Those are the areas that are around transit, those are the areas that are around neighborhoods, those are around areas of employment. So I start looking at those trends, and then I work backwards into, so what are the areas and what are the pockets that are going to fill these needs? Because again, you've got to, if you take 10 million people over, if you take 10 million people over 10 years, 30%, that's about 300,000 coming into the MSA. Looking at the trends, you've got 6,000 units have been delivered since 2014 in the central business district. In the urban core, about 2,000 right now are being delivered, and only 4,000 are remaining between now and 2022. You put that part as soon as the growth of the urban core, and they're growing part as soon as each other. So that tells me that there is an appetite for urban living, for neighborhood living, for walkability, for being close to neighborhoods. Time is a valuable commodity. We're not promised tomorrow. So I think, people want to really, there's been this shift. And that's not saying that, again, there are people, that have different needs at different times in their lives and the way they want to live. But when you look at large scale trends, those are some of the trends that I'm seeing.
And so I'll just add a little. So I find opportunities in markets at all times. Sometimes it's just the asset class changes. So, again, let's go back to the anatomy building. There's a lot of density there, everybody's looking at multifamily. And then I'm looking around and I'm like, gosh, there's a lot of density, but there's no creative class A office building. So, sometimes developers, it's a little catch-22 because we look for bank financing and there's lots of bank financing for multifamily, there isn't for office. So that's where we saw the need. So we are seeing trends where people don't want to, and I guess part of it started with the South Pacific Hotel. Gosh, I'm getting $45 on 60th in Biscayne. What is that saying to me? So I think it helps when you're in the marketplace and you really listen. And that said to me, we need office in the submarkets. I know that you guys are doing very well in Brooklyn Pearl on your office building, probably better than you expected. I know Tara is on theirs, and I know that we have been on ours. So we're building a standalone office building in an area where everybody else was just building condos and residential. So I think sometimes it's asset classes. I think we're going to, a lot of the warehouses are, industrial markets, a lot of warehouses have been, gotten reused in the river and Wingwood. So, they're looking at other areas for that warehouse for users, like who's the tile guy, right? Who's the welder. So I think there's going to be there's a little bit of a shortage in that space. And, back to lifestyle. So, it's a little artful. I'm a numbers person, also I'm an engineer by education. By the way, if you ever came up to me and showed me a spreadsheet, I'd say, put it away. Because you can change any cell to make it say whatever you want. Like Lissette, I don't back out of the spreadsheet, right? You've got to be true to yourself, true to the numbers. That's why I focus a lot on construction, because that's where a lot of people play games and absorption and all sorts of things. So, part of this artful, part of it's intuitive. Is it a neighborhood where you feel good at? Is it a neighborhood where you want to be? Is it a place where you want to live? And chances are that feels right to you. Chances are it'll feel right to somebody else. So, look at neighborhoods. Yes, we do new neighborhoods, but we also look at old neighborhoods and see what's missing and try to fill the void.
I think we only have one politician, which is Anna Maria. I know she's still here. So, what is the easiest and what are the most challenging municipalities in South Florida to deal with? I'll start with Lissette in the middle. You do a lot of Miami, so you're stuck with them.
I am stuck with the city of Miami. They're wonderful. It's incredible. So we, in this whole evening thing, so we end up just doing a lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff ourselves. So we're going to observe ourselves. Where we go, we do it ourselves. We as far as we can, we take meetings with the things. I can tell you, Hialeah's been a nice breath of fresh air. But I think that's part of the barrier to entry, though, right? Part of the barrier to entry to Miami is that. So I think that's what creates the value. And, listen to a neighborhood. If you're going to go into a neighborhood and they don't want you, and they don't want you to build a tall building or make noise or do something, really think hard about that. Because it's hard enough doing things where you want it, and when you're unwanted, it makes things twice as hard, twice as long, and probably 4 times as expensive.
How is South Miami?
South Miami, we haven't built anything yet, so let's see what happens. But,
so they're good. They're real good.
But I will say, and I try to spin this as positively as I can, Coral Gables tends to be a little bit difficult to build, but there's some good things about that. And when I was at Hines, we built 25 ponds, the building where Fleming's is, on ponds of Andalusia. And it was a real challenge. And it took a long time, the permitting, the zoning, and everything else. But in the end, I will say that you go through that, and Coral Gables, by being so exacting, they really uphold your value. So you're not going to have something come next door that's going to be schlocky. And that really helps us as an investor know that we're in an area that's going to be valuable, and there will be a governance there that maintains value. So while they were very difficult and exacting, I think there's a real positive on the other end as far as value.
add one thing. Avra said something that's really important. If they do not want you in the neighborhood, odds are it's going to be a challenge because unfortunately governments are run by politicians. They have to get reelected. So there are certain neighborhoods that something why inherently. I don't care what they do. I just will not go into those neighborhoods. I'm not going to fight the homeowners association. I don't want to be the big devil that did something again. But what I will say, and it's like everything else, it's change management. And City of Miami has gone almost like 2 years to E-Plan. That was, I was as part of the guinea pigs that went through the first generation of it. It was challenging, but in kudos to the City of Miami, I know the change management is hard, but I think once implemented, it's absolutely the right thing to do because I think that's going to be a very efficient way in the same way that technology is playing a role here, defaults and so forth. I think technology really has a place in development within municipalities, and E-Plan in particular, I thought was a wonderful move on the part of the City of Miami.
Yeah, painful, but in the long run, absolutely, absolutely better. And it's up to us to give them feedback, which we do.
So I personally am very bullish on the City of Miami. I've been born and raised here, and everything we invest in is South Florida. I met in those areas. What are your guys' thoughts? Give me, and it's hard to do a 5 year because nobody knows what the hell's going to happen in politics, the world, trade, interest rates. But what do you think, opinion of maybe 3 years out, maybe 6 months of where we could be in terms of growth in the city and just is it positive, negative, what do you think? Don't be homers, say the truth if you think otherwise.
I'm positive. Part of it is Jesus Christ, we've got 3.6% unemployment, and we've got a 10-year note at 1.60. This is like unheard of. To have such a robust, let's say, economy, talking about some of the other social issues and wages and so forth, but to have such a robust economy with low interest rates, that certainly presents opportunity. I think the flow of funds to Miami and the tax climate here versus New York and LA, I'm seeing a lot of flight capital, and it isn't coming from South America. It's coming from New York and LA. So so that makes me go. I'm cautiously optimistic, and a lot of it is because of lifestyle and technology. You have a choice of where you can live. I moved from New York to here, and what took me so long? It's just the lifestyle's here. You can work from anywhere. So I think that's one thing you can't build and recreate. You've got beach and sunshine, and we work and live where people come on vacation.
Absolutely, and again, having been born and raised here, my birth certificate actually says Hialeah Hospital. And my parents' first house, my parents went to Miami High, and then my first home was actually where Miami Circle is today. That's I was literally born on the river. But when I look at that and you say kind of what one of the things that I speak to, and again I was asked this question. I think the November 2020 election is going to be very telling. The 2017 tax cut and job act speaks to what Avra was speaking, which is the wealth migration that has come in. Florida right now is the #1 beneficiary of all kinds of state migration. Texas is #2, and South Carolina is #3. $17.7 billion came into the United States. Into Florida in 2016. $8.8 billion left New York. Just to put it in perspective, Texas being #2 had about $2.2 billion in net migration. So again, that's just the result of some of the kind of policies that put in place that could impact one way or another. So again, I think one of the big things is telling is kind of where are the policies kind of post-election, because I think when you do the correlation of wealth migration, again, there's a lot of flight capital, and this is absolutely a fact. They're moving from, states with high income state tax to those states that have, much lower or no state income tax. So I think some of the policies that we're going to see in the next are going to affect kind of where the movement goes.
So when I left Chicago, my hometown, 20 years ago, to move to Barcelona with Heinz, spent 4 or 5 years there building a project, and then it was time to come back to the United States. And Heinz said, you can go to Chicago, or you can go to Miami. And we thought about it, and love Chicago. But the growth of Chicago was kind of like this, and Miami, I felt was like this. Because the trajectory from where we had been 15, 20 years ago when I moved here to now is just unbelievable. Sure, Chicago's been plodding along nicely, but the trajectory here has been incredible, and I believe that continues and will continue. I do believe, though, that we need to be very cautious with how sea level rise and sustainability issues are reflected in the press. Sometimes we get some very negative press when we see Jim Cantore on Brickell Avenue. That's not a good thing. When you have a storm that may be, 100 miles away, and he shows how Brickell Avenue is flooded, and then the next day Brickell Avenue is just fine, and they don't show that. I'm not saying it's not an issue, it is an issue, but we need to be proactive, I think, with respect to how we discuss the issue and some of the measures that we're taking, especially City of Miami, Miami-Dade County, Miami Beach with their sustainability departments, are really doing a lot of great work, and we need to get that word out so that we don't lose the momentum.
I have one more question, and then we'll open it up to audience. I don't know how many billions of dollars of development you guys have between the 3 of you, but I want each of you to pick your favorite development and tell us why it's your favorite.
Oh gosh. So it has to.
Pick
I
one.
know I am. I think pick the vagabond. I think it's the vagabond, it's because, not only architecture is significant, but we're back to the story. So everything we do, it has a story. And, we do Dr. Vayusi, we do all these things. And what I realized when I do historic preservation, I underestimated sort of the emotional impact of it, which is that those buildings housed memories. So the Vagabond, for instance, even some of the workers that were there doing the renovation, they had come over on Cuban boats. And that was their first home. Or Mayor Manny Diaz said when he first came over, they would drive for entertainment, because they didn't have a lot of money. They drive up and down Biscayne Boulevard to see the neon signs. So I did neon instead of LED. So I think for me, emotionally, I think that I really underestimated the importance of that and what historic preservation does as a public benefit.
For me, it's easy. It's neo-lofts. That
I love being a neighbor.
That's my baby. I actually still own the corner penthouse that has been offered every amount of money. God willing, that never is what they need, but has absolutely never for sale. I don't care, who comes. It's absolutely, I don't care for the price on it. And to me, I think why is that building just holds such a special heart? And it's like the big picture that I have in my office, in my personal office, the big picture is in love. And it's to me because that building represents the American dream. Because what other amazing, incredible country gives a first generation Hispanic female that's 28 years old, who is the first person in her family to go to college, the opportunity to build a high-rise on Roth. And Real Loss is a testament, I think, to the greatness of Miami, to the American dream, and to everything Miami has to offer. We are a young city. It doesn't matter what your last name is. It's really a function of how hard do you work, how much do you want it, how hungry you are, To this day, I still work 20-hour workdays. I miss birthdays, I miss anniversaries. I always tell everybody in my office, you can't take the elevator to success, you're gonna take the stairs. But I think if you're willing to do that, it really, the American dream is alive.
I think it's just not going to be office building.
Yes, I do.
Is that another thing?
Thank you. I think the most exciting project that I've been involved in with Diagonal Mar in Barcelona, the 80 acres on the Mediterranean with the Heinz organization. But I think what really gives me special pride is Cocoa Walk. And to make it a little bit more local in context, Cocoa Walk, is such a legendary project in its day, and it just got tired. And it really needs to be brought back to be that centerpiece of Coconut Grove where it belongs. And to be able to transform that project from what it was to what we're looking to do there is very, very rewarding. We want to make it a true part of the organic feel that you find in Coconut Grove. The Mediterranean architecture that was there before just doesn't fit, and it fits here in the Gables, but not in the Grove. And try to really make it part of the fabric of the community where people can be comfortable spending time there. They don't just go to the movie theaters and then literally run for the exits afterwards because there's nowhere they want to go. We want people to stay and enjoy Cocoa Walk. So we went through a massive process to figure out what was wrong with Cocoa Walk, walking through it in every which way and understanding what are the constraints and what is it we can do to rectify each and every one of those. And so we're very excited about how it's starting to shape up with the office building. We tried to do everything within the existing zoning as well, unlike Shops of Sunset where we really needed to go for a zoning change. At Cocoa Walk, we were within the limit of 81 feet, 5 stories of Coconut Grove, trying to figure out what is the best way to use that zoning envelope and do everything you can to make it as successful as possible and to blend into the community. So that's really a great source of pride.
Thank you. How many people remember Wet Willie's and Cafe Tutu Tango from Cocoa Walk?
Well, I actually wanted to tell you, Tom, I know you weren't there for that time, but when you knocked that center building down, those of us that grew up knowing how good our fake ID was, whether we could get in or not, was heartbreaking. When I saw those screens coming down, the building and the demo was going on, a part of my youth died with it that day. I was crying.
We actually found some big
A lot of brain cells.
Yeah.
Dealing with municipalities, what do you do to reason with cities when they put a change of use, but the area doesn't support it? Parking, they want me to do a live work. There's nowhere to park. So how do you reason with them? What do you come up with?
Well, I actually don't know the arts district too, so I know. Yeah, I know that's interesting because there's a thought behind it. Everybody sort of thinks, people think, oh, when people change habits, we know the mass transit isn't there. People find, because there's a problem, people will create a solution. I think that's a challenge with change of use. Is the parking. So I try to buy buildings that are grandfathered, right? Because I have a couple of buildings that I wouldn't be able to park them and use them. So, I think the city could do a better job of doing no. So I look at the arts district, it's a small area. That's where you're supposed to build a no parking garage. The Flamingo shopping mall's got a ton of parking. So I think that's where communities have to come together and find a solution together. All right, so that would be my recommendation for an area like that, small parking. I know we was trying to, they got organized and they're kind of doing that. Or you can do like Tom's doing, is buy something that's already parked. So I think the transit area development and the small units are important. The sort of the micro housing and getting close to transit. I have friends that don't have cars now. They're younger, but they don't have cars. They were in so close to the core, right, we're back to close to core, and then, and then push for more. The trolley now on the road where we are, where the old house is like it's packed, right? So, and I'm a believer of the little scooter thing. Yeah, like, you know, we got to figure out how we make that all work. I mean, you could get around the whole with freebies and, you know, we got to get creative.
One of the things that I like to do, and again, I didn't speak to the city of Miami, for example, the city of Miami, a lot of projects requires that you have retail at ground level. Well, you know, and I always, and again, this is where I say, you know, I like to look at the cities, and I always talk to the city, and I say, well, why is it that you want retail at the ground level? You know, kind of help me understand why you want retail. Well, because we just don't want an ugly parking garage, you know, at the ground level. We don't want to see cars, we want to see, you know, people and everything. Okay, fine, fair enough. I'll put my amenities at the ground level. I will have the gym. I will have, you know, my clubhouse. I will have this. So at a facade level, you're going to have people, but at the end of the day, I'm never going to be able to rent, you know, the retail at the space that you want it, you know, that needs to work. So instead, I'll just take kind of my amenities down, I'll take the units up, and I'm able to have those conversations with the city, and I have to say, at least at the city of Miami, they've been very open to those kinds of conversations.
Brian, you're gonna have to wait for a new generation of city commissioners, sorry.
We're gonna do a couple people that haven't asked, and then I will get to them.
Thank you, guys. You know, when I drive down Biscayne Boulevard or along the river or Coca Walk, I always think of you guys because I know what kind of work it's taken to do what you've done. So thank you for the whole community. You know, when you think about smart buildings, you usually think about LEED certified, you know, things that we really can't see too much. But today, there's so many features now that give convenience to the tenants and to the residents. And I know you're putting some of these new features in your building, but what are some cool new things that are being put into these old buildings that are bringing them now a step ahead of even the latest buildings we've just been built?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, for residential, there's a lot of innovation going on. There's a lot of it's, you know, they're doing a lot of tech, they're doing sort of tech platforms, it's sort of a new way of living, actually. Like, so you look at the next building, so some of it is, you know, sort of building community, you know, how they're, you know, it's the shared apartments, and it's, you know, I think it's things like, you know, providing for dog wash, you know, providing for bike wash. So the innovation, I think, is sort of across the board. It's not just the lifestyle and some of the tech around the community building, but it's also really listening to the users, right?
One of the things that, you know, we're looking at, and this is, again, I can speak from the residential standpoint, you know, when you think kind of, you know, up until recently, the receiving clerks that people had in their buildings, and again, because I'm multi-generational long-term hold, net operating income to me is very important because that's kind of, so I have to make sure, you know, my revenue comes out, but I have to look at, you know, where are my expenses and those numbers. And as you look at operational efficiencies and move to that, technology plays a role. For example, right now in our buildings, you know, you get Mr. Marshall, you have a, you know, you have a package that arrived. If you receive a text, your code is 1731. Well, you go to the package room 24 hours a day, you type in your code 1731, you get your box, it scans it, it takes a picture of you, you put in your code again, and out you go. No longer need a package, you know, a receiving person. Especially now in the world, in the age of Amazon, where every front desk in every traditional condo or apartment building looks like a storage package room. So that's one of the things we did. We also have realized that people with tenants with smart lockers of laundry and everything. So now, you know, we moved towards the digital doors, where, you know, you want to give your dog walker has their own code to go into your unit. You know, if you want, you know, the public system, it's again, whoever you give the code to can go into there. So there's all these levels of operating efficiencies. For example, we realized that 90% of the people that come to our building between 12 and 6 in the morning is Uber Eats. So it is. In particular, the one I'm talking to, we are a health district, and so we're very shift oriented. We're not the traditional 9 to 5 jobs, so it's either people are arriving or leaving, but 90%. So now we have a new implemented system. I mean, if you're ordering food in the morning, you may not want to come down so long to get it. So now we've implemented, you know, technology where they can go up and give those tickets.
I think you all covered pretty well the residential tenants and some of the technologies that they might be using. But from a standpoint of a developer, there's so many out there. In fact, Olivia, who presented earlier, is a great example of Deep Labs. where I don't need to call my zoning attorney or my architect anymore and ask them for a favor and say, could you take a look at this block up on North Biscayne for me? And, you know, if we get it, take a look at the job, maybe we won't. And then they'd have to sit there and design it, and then I'd have to go to the land use attorney and ask them, you know, what can I really do here, because I don't want to read the code. And so suddenly you've got, you know, the critics of Zonar, and then you've got Deep Blocks doing that for you is just an incredible convenience and a real disruptor in what we do every day. There's a rendering software that we've brought in and also invested in from Belgium that gets renderings done in just no time and really inexpensive. So again, you're not going to have to go to your architect and then go to the renderer just to get, let's say, a floor plan in front of a tenant who wants an office space to show what it could look like. So that's a real convenience to us too. So it's real exciting what's happening in the second.
So my question's for Ms. Calderon. I love your project. I'm a original Alpata guy. We 17,000 in the building, 14 stories. What are the rents going to be there?
You know, we haven't finalized our rents, but, you know, our rents will be targeted, you know, to the working, you know, those that work within, you know, government, those that work within the city, you know, professionals, paraprofessionals. When you look at your report, you've got 220,000 people working there, you've got 46,000 people working in the health district, second largest health district after Houston, you've got 36,000 people over at MIA. And again, you know, not everybody there is making, you know, a $250,000 salary. And, you know, the option of having to commute an hour and a half each way, you know, doesn't sound very attractive, you know, to a lot of people. So again, you know, we're still finalizing the pricing, but it will definitely be targeted, you know, kind of within those, you know, workforce housing numbers.
Okay, we have over here this one.
Thanks, Paul. Good afternoon. I'm Neil with Leonard Boston Commercial. My question, Thomas, you touched on it a little bit regarding, you know, looking at water levels from Miami, Bristol. You're all builders, developers, and how do you address, as far as the maybe working, staying in touch with Army Corps of Engineers, trying to, you know, regarding state levee systems around the shore of Miami? How are you looking at that when you are developing? Is that something actually that you have to consider? Do you work closely with Army Corps of Engineers? How does that work with you?
We really haven't done projects that are necessarily waterside. And Cocoa, as you know, is up on a ridge, right? Sunset is fairly high and dry. We actually believe that identifying properties that are in more sustainable locations is a good practice. And so we're really focused on, not meaning to avert the question, but we don't have as much experience in that because of some of the waterside issues. That's more relevant. We are looking at sites typically that are a little bit more in high and dry sustainable locations. We believe that one of the biggest contributors to the carbon footprint issue that we have is suburbanization, suburban sprawl. And we think that the way that you look at the future for urban areas being more compact and developing in higher, drier areas and near transit is a solution to reducing VMTs, vehicle mile travel, and that's a big contributor to the carbon footprint. So we think that there's things that we can be doing with respect to how we grow and where we develop and where we allow development to occur that can be extremely valuable in trying to address sustainability issues.
So I'll tell you, I buy a lot of older buildings, vintage buildings. They were in high places to begin with. So think about when they built the city, they built the railroad tracks on the best piece of dirt. Biscayne Boulevard was US 1, so they built it on the same ridge that's going all the way down to Coconut. So somebody said to me, Avra, you know, because a lot of my stuff is 100-year flood stuff. I didn't even know. I don't even look at that map. And I was like, so I can tell you that for most of the developers I'm around, that's not really a conversation. When you think about terrace building, beautiful buildings on the water, you've just got, you know, you've got North Beach now, Claro, you know, I moved to Miami to be on the water. So I live in a building that's in the water, so I think it's something that, it surprises me how many people probably don't talk about it. And I can tell you it's nothing we look at in my investments. And I just bought on Miami River, I'm doing a project on the Miami River. But there are civil engineering solutions for a lot of these things, and I think it's good that everybody's alarmed and watchful, because we do need to slow down the trends.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I want to thank Gus and our awesome panel. We could literally keep you guys here all day and just keep the conversation going, but we want to be respectful of everybody's time. You are amazing. Thank